Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the SET Digital Roadshow from PTTEP. Today, my name is Nutanong. I'm an Investor Relation Manager from PTTEP. Today, I'm honored here with our management, Kun Chanamas, our Senior Vice President in Finance. Today, we will share with you our first quarter 2020 financial results. But before we go into that, I would like Kun Chanama to also share with us our strategy update, as well as the impact and the responses that the company have during this COVID-19 and the the oil price war since March this year. So I'll let Kun Chanamat start with how we cope with the COVID-19.
Thank you, Kun Nikki. Before we get started, I would hope that you, your friends, your family, and your colleagues are safe and healthy out there. For PTTEP, I think during the COVID times have been starting since end of March, I believe that, and we have implemented the BCM, the Business Continuity Management program, and which is like we are more focusing on the safety of our employee and their family. So most of our office-based employee will be work at home, and we evacuate all the people, all the overseas staff back home to Thailand safely since the early of the April. And also that we have put a lot of the screening to all the contractors, all the employees have to be that need to enter into the building. So that's for the office, for the corporate side. For the people, the employee who work at the field in the operation site, we have implemented multi-layer of the screening with the 14 days quarantine. For all the staff and contractors to entering the production site, because we have to ensure that we the operating site have to be operated can maintain the production levels to secure the energies to the country as well. So we have implemented that strictly in the operation site as well. And also finally we are helped our communities and helped our frontline doctors and hospital in the nationwide, including the overseas, that with the donations of 13 million baht during the COVID times. And we also have cooperated with the ARV, our subsidiary of PTTEP, that partner to develop the negative pressure patients transfer bed and also the mobile negative pressure box. And this is going to be delivered, have been delivered to the hospital worldwide in Thailand as well. And this is more like what we have done during the COVID times. And we believe that most of our employees can able to do the work at home and can maintain the production level as contracted volumes. The next on to move on the a lot of concern for the investor side on the oil price movement. We have foresee that they have a big movement since early of this year about the oil price, and this is not only the PTTEP. I believe that is happened to the oil and gas industry as well. I would believe that nobody believe that the oil price have been trading lower at the 720 level. And that's put a lot of pressure to oil and gas industry. I would say that it's not the first time for the oil and gas. We have experienced this kind of low oil price at 20 levels. This is probably the third time since 2008. If you see at the left-hand side, we have shown the historical, the Dubai price since the 2000. We will see that we have been in this experience for 3 times at least. The first one happened in 2008, and this is what because of the global recession, we have a demand shock. During the 2014 and 16, we have supply shock. There's a shale revolutions, and that's make our oversupply in the market. That's bring the oil price down as well. But the third one is something like we have been very surprised, because what I want to say that is like a two perfect storm. We got like demand shock and as well as the supply shock. The supply shock is probably that have an oversupply in the market for quite since the early beginning. And then we have the coronavirus outbreak, which has affect a lot in the global economies and make demand have been shortened as well. So we have both demand shock and supply shock as well in this time. What PTTEP have been done before since 2014 and 16, since we have coped up with the low oil price, we have implement a lot of initiative program that's called like Save to Be Safe, Spend Smart, and all those things have been dealing with the capex and opex reduction, improve efficiency, and have some efficiency to make the cost down, as well as the organization transformation to make the organization more agile. And the result of that, in those 2014-16, we have been adjusted the cost base from 2014 that we have a cost about $43 per barrel. And with all the initiative program, we could bring down the cost down to $32 per barrel of oil equivalents. That's almost 30% reduction from earlier from those initiative program. And that's what we have launched during the 2014 and 16. We have adjusted all the cost base to be very competitive if you compare to the peers. But for this time, as I said, that we cope up with the two perfect storm: demand shock, supply shock. And we have all those years that we're talking about, discuss a lot of PTTEP resilience. Now, I would say that this time that we would like to demonstrate how resilient we are. If you see on the left-hand side, you see the 2020, this year performance outlook. I will go to each of the key drivers, and we'll see the impact of the demand and the supply shock that for this year we still believe that we're still very strong, because of everything, our cost structure, the revenue structure is we are quite resilient compared to oil price. Looking at the sales volume first, you'll see that this is beauty of the PTTEP in the sense that we have a long-term gas contract. As you're aware of, 70% of our portfolio is gas, and the majority of 70% is a long-term gas contract, which is more or less, most of them is with the PTT, who is our parent company. And with the contract have a minimum take-or-pay contract, the minimum delivery contract, which means that they have a committed volumes, that minimum committed volumes. Which meaning that if the PTTEP have buy less than the committed volumes, they have to get the take-or-pay to the company. So even though regardless of the low demand, in domestic low demand, we still can sales at the minimum contract volumes. So, but we're going to say that at the global recession, have effect to the Thai economy as well. The pandemic have effect to the energy demand in the domestic as well. So we have adjusted and we have lowered the forecast of the 2020 sales volumes. Earlier we have guidance that we can achieve at least like more than 10% of the volume growth. But at recently we have lowered our guidance from last year. We believe that right now we have guidance the sales volume at 362,000 for the whole year 2020. That meaning that we still have a growth at 3%, and majority of the growth will be coming from our past two acquisitions last year. So we're still committed that our sales volume still have growth at 3% this year. For the product price, we have, as you're aware that we have, as I mentioned earlier, the 70% is a gas based and have a sales on the long-term gas contracted. I would say the beauty of the gas gas contract have two key elements. One element is 30% tied to the fuel oil. That meaning that only 30% of the gas price will be affected by the spot oil price. The second element is about the lag time of the gas. Each of the gas contract have a different reset, which is mean that there will be a lag time in the price adjustment. Majority of our project will be like 6 month or 12 month reset contract. So meaning that the spot price, the oil price have been the movement of oil price this year would not be affected to our gas price that much in this year. That's if you look at the graph, this is well demonstrated how sensitive of the gas price to the oil price. If you look at the graph on the axis X, it shows about the variance of the oil price. If you look at the oil price at $60, if you have to, if it 50% lower than the $60, I mean half of the $60 are trade at $30, you will see that our gas price will be affected only a few. From 100% will be affected only 80%. Whereas the liquid, which is a 30% of our portfolio, will definitely be very aligned with the international oil price, and with the 70% gas and 30% liquid, and so our average selling price still not affected the whole affected to the oil price. And this graph demonstrates that only 30% will be affected to the spot oil price. And this is how the gas price is resilient when we're talking about the gas price, our gas price resilient to the oil price. So for the price, which Kuniki will talking about in the financial part, you will see that our first quarter gas price still remains strong. We're still trading at about above $6 per MMBTU, which is quite similar to the fourth quarter last year. Okay, the next one is, the cash margin. We still can maintain a very strong cash margin since our cash cost is only $15 comparing to the peers. So our normally average selling price is about above 36. So we still have a very buffer in the cash margin side. That's more or less on 2020, the performance outlook in terms of that. But of course, since we have both of the supply shock and the demand shock, and we don't know that how this is gonna be improving in the short terms. But however, at this time, you will see that the oil price have been gradually increasing at the moment. Since last Saturday, I think there was agreement between the OPEC and OPEC Plus to continue the cut down the production to 9.7 until the July. And the COVID, everything have been improving. A lot of countries have been remove or lift up all the restriction on the lockdown. So the economy have been picking up at the moment. There was a lot of a demand on the oil that make the oil price gradually increasing at the moment. But still, we don't know that what's going to go going on in the second half as well. A lot of people still concerned that the second wave of the COVID will come or not. So to preparing for the second half as well, I think the company have made decisions to cut down the capex or the investment plan immediately at about 15 to 20%. I believe that we have already guided that on the 2020, we're going to use the investment about $4.6 billion US. So we immediately cut at 15 to 20% from 4.6 billion. But those costs as I mentioned, that would not be affected to our production level that we are guided. So don't worry about that. I think our guidance about 362 is quite, we are already factoring on everything, and cost reduction, that one is not going to hurt any further reduction in the productions. For the long term, I would say that we have, we have adjusted to the new normal transformation. We have introduced a new way of doing work, improving more efficiency in order to bring down further the cost, to be competitive if compared with peers, and we can more resilience to the oil price. That's more the long-term, what our long-term strategy in terms of the cost side. Let me talk a little bit on the project update. On the page, slide 8, is about our project update and more like a update on strategy side. A lot of people will be worried if the oil price is coming down at this time, what PTTEP will be doing with the previous strategies. I would like to say that we still continue to focus on executed strategies. As we mentioned that we're still focusing on the legacy asset, that we try to maintain a production level as committed and as contracted as per the gas sales agreement. For the pre-development projects on Lang Laba, the project in Malaysia, that we have found some reserve discovery last year, we still continue to doing it. We did not cut any capex and opex plan for those fields, and we believe that it could, we try to target that this kind can be sanctioned shortly, soonest for the Lang Laba. For the development on the Mozambique Area 1, it's also not really significantly affected by the COVID for the outbreak as well. Everything still on plan as be updated by the operators Total. And I think we will sign it, the project finance very soon. That's gonna be on the financing side that could support the project and development in the futures as well. So I mean, both of the development project in Malaysia and in Mozambique is still be as planned it. In terms of the transitions, there have not much yet updated on the G1 and G2s at the moment. I think everything is still on plan. We try to be get a smooth operatorship transfer for that. And for the expand, a lot of people, might asking about that PTTEP will do some more M&A. Since the oil price have been low, there will be more opportunistic coming to the company or not. I would say here that for the since we that we have a very strong balance sheet at the moment, I think we are ready to any kind of opportunistic coming at the moment. A lot of lately we heard from the news that a lot of company have been struggle on the liquidity side and might have to sell down all the asset that is not a call for the company, and we will look into that with a strong balance sheet, but to ensure that how we're gonna go all the asset, all the M&A will be still strictly in the framework of the strategic area where we are operated in Southeast Asia, in Middle East, will be more, especially for Oman and UAE. If the area is allowed that and can added value in the present, I think we will be look up for those kind of M&A. For the new business, still have not further much development on that. We're still concentrated in the gas to power in Myanmar. We're waiting for the what you call NTP, the net to proceed from the government to endorse from the government of Myanmar. And if there is anything happen, I think we will be updated for the next time. I think the last pages that I will cover will be, I will still emphasize that the company is still operated on the SD framework that I have explained it last time. That the SD framework have comprising of the 3 pillars: HPO, high performance operation, GRC compliance, and SVC is taking care of the stakeholder. The HPO I have updated already in the last time about the project updated. We still concentrate and execute strategies. For the GRC, I'm very glad to announce that we are have been achieved the award integrity awarded from the government. This is the second consecutive years for this awarded in about the transparency, and we have extended the governance in this area to the contractors that have the contractors and the supplier who are stakeholder to the company as well. The lastly, that would like to update on the SPC pillar, the stakeholder. I think we have been, as I mentioned earlier, that we have donated about 30 million baht in the COVID, and we have helping the organization frontline, both Thailand and overseas operation, especially Myanmar, Indonesia. And we not have we will update it all the activities related to the SD framework later in next quarter as well, how we achieve that. This is an overall for the strategy and how we have done during the COVID times. Now I think Khun Nikki will cover up the financial performance and to see that how we resilient to the oil price.
Thank you. So for the financial performance, we have released our first quarter 2020 financial results. Just would like to, wrap up the key drivers of our performance. Of course, there are three main drivers that we reported to you guys, investor, every quarter: the volume, the selling price, and the unit cost. That makes up our net income. Our net income for the first quarter, if comparing to the fourth quarter last year, of course, down about 28% QOQ. Mainly it's because of the drop in the oil price and also the drop in the volume as well. So if you look at the first driver, the volume has dropped around 8%. Mainly it's because of the lower demand in the Gulf of Thailand, makes our buyer PTT have lower nomination than the fourth quarter of last year. And also there are some deferred shipments of our oil projects as well. But still we are able to maintain the volume at above 360,000 barrels per day. And most of them is still, from our cooperation, Thailand and Malaysia and Myanmar, representing by the blue and the green chunks. In terms of the selling price, as Khun Chanamas mentioned, we have two main products, the gas and the liquid. The gas being 70% of our volume, with the resilient price mechanism that embedded in our gas sales agreement with PTT. The gas price remains strong despite the drop in the oil price. So the first quarter we are able to have the gas price at $6.87 per MMBTU. The gas price will, gradually decline from the oil price drop that decline in the third month, going down to fourth and fifth month, and then it will slowly come up as the oil price has come up as well. So from the liquid price for the first quarter, of course, this is basically directly in line with the global crude oil price at around 52, making our weighted average selling price at around $44 per barrel of oil equivalent. So you see that even, the sharp drop in the Dubai price doesn't make our weighted average selling price drop that much because of the lag time in the gas pricing. I'll tell you a little bit more on the outlook, how our gas price will look like in second quarter and what we expect for 2020. So that is on the last page. The third driver is the unit cost. Of course, like Khun Chanamas mentioned, our cash cost is around $15. The non-cash cost being the depreciation is around $16. So we are able to maintain the unit cost at around $31 per barrel. That's the three driver for the net income. In terms of cash flow, of course, we have quite liquidity and have ample cash balance, which is quite crucial for the time of the company at the volatility of the oil price like this. So 2019, we have the balance of $3 billion US dollars of cash on hand. As we always communicate to the investor, in our working cap, we need about $1 billion US dollars for working capital. So 3 billion is quite more than enough for our working capital. In terms of operating cash flow, we are still be able to get the operating cash flow for the first quarter around 1 billion. With some repayments of bonds and hybrids and some capex, we ended the first quarter of this year with around 3.2 billion US dollars for the cash on hand. So quite a lot of liquidity here, and still quite some debt headroom as well. So our debt to equity is currently at 0.29. We have the policy according to our financial discipline not to have our debt to equity more than 0.5, as we are in E&P company. So we'll quite have to be strict with that because we're in the company, the industry that have high risk as well. So we monitor that on a regular basis and adhere to that. So the debt to equity at around 0.3. So we just announced our bond issuance this morning at $5 million US dollars. This is part of our liability management as well that we have done starting late last year and ending this year. So this is to grab the opportunities of the interest expenses that are lower in the current market situations. With all of the issuance and the repurchasing of the bonds, we are able to lower cost of debt to around 6.9, or with that new 500 will be lower, around 3.7%. And then the average loan life is able to extend to around 14 to 15 years. And of course, we are US dollars functional currency. 100% of our debt is to match with our revenue and liabilities. It's US dollars as well. So that's in terms of the balance sheet. The last page that I would like to illustrate is that the credit ratings. We have had the usual annual reviews from all the credit rating agencies that were finished by, I think it's April this year. All the rating agencies has affirmed the credit rating of PTTEP, of course, first of all, based on our strong balance sheet, our liquidity, as well as our strong cash flow with that lag time mechanism in the gas pricing, and of course, our committed volume with our main buyer as well. So those are all the strengths that the credit rating agency illustrate and in their reports on our financials during this volatility of the oil price. In terms of the guidance for 2020, as Kunchanamas mentioned, we have lowered our guidance on the volume side for 2020 to be around 360 barrel of oil equivalent. That is mainly because of the lower demand of the energy consumption due to the COVID-19. But still growth from 2019. And the gas selling price, of course, in the second quarter, as there are still some lag time, so the gas price has dropped only a little bit to around 6.2 from that $6.8 per MMBTU. For average of the years, the gas price only will be down by to around 5.9, and then for 2021 it will gradually decline as well, but that's also depends on the oil price of 2021 as well. The unit cost, we think we can maintain around $30 per barrel, and the EBITDA margin, of course, slightly lower, but not that much. We used to guide around 70% to 70 to 75%. With that lower oil price, EBITDA margin that we expected around 65 to 70%. So still quite a lot of cash flow that we would expect for this year, despite the low oil price. So that's the wrap for 2020. So I think for this time, we'll read the questions on that you have online, and then maybe Chanamat and I could highlight that again. So I think the first and the second questions are more or less on the same topic about the impact on the pandemic to, three things: our gas selling price, our operations, and our petroleum productions.
I think I already addressed at the first that the pandemic have been affected to the global economies and as well as the Thai economy as well. That's going to be reflected to the lower energy consumptions within the Thailand as well. That's more affected to the lower demand of energies. For the volumes side, that's going to be affected by the lower energy consumptions in Thailand itself. Then as we have lowered the guidance, of about 7% have been lower cut from that pandemics. The first one about the selling price, this is what we have addressed that our gas price are quite resilient. There's two key elements. One is only 30% of the gas price have been linked to the oil. The second thing is about lagging. The lag times in the gas pricing. So the lag time, it means that each contract have will have a lag time period of the reset of the pricing, 6 months, 12 months, or even though one of the contract have been lag about 24 months as well. So majority of the contract have not fully reflected to the big movement of the oil price. So the gas price still stood at above $6 in the first quarter, even $6.7 per MMBTU, which is quite same as fourth quarter of last year's. But as Kumiki just mentioned, that the whole year, gradually the contract have gradually resetting. So for the full year of 2020, we still believe that our gas price still at $5.9 dollars per MMBTU. This will be subjected to the oil price assumption as well. That our company itself have been forecast that oil price is around less than $40 for the whole year. On the third question, I think this is more focused on the second half performance. Demand and pricing on gas can be increased by end of this year. So like I mentioned, in terms of pricing, with that lag time adjustment, the major adjustment of the pricing will be on the second quarter and then the fourth quarter. So we expect to see the drop in the fourth quarter gas pricing to around $5 per MMBTU. This is from the big drop in the oil price since March. So we will see that effect partly in the fourth quarter of this year. And then we also expect 2021 to be around that same level. But this is also depending on the oil price at the second half in 2021 as well. In terms of the volume for the second half, we expect the volume to be, overall for the year to be lower than we anticipated, but still in 360,000 barrels per day in that range for the second half. And the fourth question would be to elaborate more on the M&A side, the strategic area. I think Khun Chanaman already mentioned that the strategic area that we focus on would be on Thailand, Myanmar, Malaysia, and Southeast Asia as the region, as well as the Middle East with UAE and Oman. I think there's a specific question, and that would it be delayed due to the pandemic? I think I mentioned before that with the pandemic and have some global economy recessions, and a lot of a company, not only the E&P company, I think have struggling about the liquidities. So we have heard from that some of the company might have interested to sell down some of the good asset out from that portfolio, and probably will be more focused on that core asset even more than last year. So this we think that is a kind of opportunities for PTTEP to take a look of those assets that have sold off in the market. That's more like the opportunities rather than to delay it. And as Kuniki just mentioned, that our balance sheet is still very strong. I think we still believe that have a good debt headroom to expand. But I would like to emphasize that we're not going to go anywhere in the world just to do an M&A, even though we have a strong balance sheet, but we will be more stringent on the criteria to select the good asset that will be fit to our strategy.
I think the first question is on the Myanmar. Why do you decided to support Myanmar on infrastructure development? I think this one is talking about our plan in gas to power in Myanmar, and if there is any plans to support that in other countries.
I would rather say that the reason we go to the gas to power will be mainly about the benefit of our company side in terms of we have a gas field that have undeveloped at the moment, but we have found a reserve for a couple of years ago, and we would like to monetize those gas to the field. I believe it's called M3 project that already have a reserve discovery, but we cannot monetize it at the moment. And this field is situated very next to the Myanmar border, right? Not that far. So we think that is a good opportunity to create a market inside of Myanmar in order to be able to monetize our gas and to optimize the efficiency of the M3 as well. So this kind of like the first story why the gas to power have become, the project in our, just to try to monetize our upstream projects.
So the next question is the measures to safeguard our employees against COVID-19 situations. I think we have covered that we, on the operation side, we have strict safeguard measures. We have quarantined the staff to be onshore side or offshore side 14 days before they are able to get on the helicopter to be on the offshore side. This is, of course, for our safety of our employee, as well as to make sure that the continuation of our supply, the gas supplies to Thailand, is not disrupted. So we have quite strict measures for everywhere, for both offshore and onshore, as well as of our work from home for the headquarters, like Kuchanamat mentioned. I think the last question would be if due to the pandemic, make all the economic and all business slow down, what's the company's strategy plan if the COVID situation drags for 1 or 2 years? So this is on a longer term basis.
I think if you're talking about the 1 and 2 years, we have already looked at the cut down immediately about the capex and opex. As I mentioned earlier, that we cut down 15 to 20%, and we look for the more in terms of improved efficiency in order to bring the cost down furthermore. And besides that, as I said, that PTTEP quite resonance to the oil price, and because the oil and the demand of the energy demand consumption in Thailand as well, because of the contract of the gas price, with 70% of our portfolio have been a contracted volumes with the minimum DCQ with a take-or-pay contract. So it's not going to be like 100% impacted to our sales volume, even though in 1 or 2 years ahead. And just to ensure, have your confidence that we have the stress test, if the oil price is below than $30 per barrel, we didn't get and maintain at $30 per barrel for another 1 or 2 years. I believe that Kuniki Life Financials, we still have very strong financial, and then we could live, with a positive cash flow, positive operating cash flow in 1 or 2 years from now. And I think we can get through in terms of the liquidity side, even though oil price have traded below $30.
I think that's all the questions we have for today. So thank you very much for your kind attention to our results. For the second quarter, we'll be updating the market again. Of course, the second quarter ends at this month, June, and then we'll expect to release our financial results for this half year at our regular time in end of July as well. So hope everyone stay safe and healthy.
Okay.
See you again.
See you again. Thank
Have
you.
a good day.
ขอบคุณ
Bye bye.
ค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ